It's been almost a decade since Rockstar released the wholly ambitious and ludicrous GTA Online. A sandbox for all the reckless wackiness that made the multi-billion-dollar franchise so unique. It's near impossible to think of their crown jewel working in any other multiplayer format, but over the years, they've tried. Their plans for a persistent, ever-online world for Grand Theft Auto predate GTA 5 by quite a lot. In fact, these plans were in motion before the series became a household name, way back in the 90s. Those of you that have grown up with the likes of San Andreas, Vice City, GTA 4 or 5 may not remember what the games used to look like. They were quite a bit different. This is the original Grand Theft Auto, and this, its sequel. This was before Rockstar was even a thing. These top-down powder kegs were made by a humble little developer in Dundee, Scotland, DMA Design. Now both these games had a multiplayer mode, online in fact. This isn't what I'm talking about as the precursor and great-grandparent of GTA Online. The multiplayer on display was, to be frank, a bit rubbish. It existed, but it was more just included for the hell of it. But DMA saw it was possible, and it gave them cause to pursue the concept even further. Two new projects went into production, GTA 3D and GTA Online Crime World. The name alone aligns with what would come to be GTA Online, but before you expect to hear all the details about a rudimentary crime sandbox game, the information just sort of tapers off. We know it was in development before GTA 2's release. We know that after DMA's acquisition by Take-Two, it was still in the pipeline. We know that it was one of a few other projects in production. But when DMA grew up to become Rockstar North, it seemed they had to prioritise. As quietly as GTA Online Crime World had made its announcement to the world, it was swept under the rug. It was joined by other unfinished projects such as GTA 64. The time spent developing GTA Crime World was recycled, and the aims were brought into the game that the developers hadn't shelved. GTA 3D, which became, unsurprisingly, GTA 3. So no ambiguity here. We all know the third installment of the series. The franchise's step into the 3D world was a game changer. It was a pedigree single-player experience, that's for sure, but Rockstar was still thinking about multiplayer. They wanted to try and make it work. In case you're having a bit of a memory crisis and now thinking you're misremembering the game, you're not. GTA 3 didn't have multiplayer in its final versions, but it did at one point. How do we know? Well, it doesn't take a lot of detective work in this case. Its creators didn't do a great job of hiding it, and the files are still there, mostly. There are several files and text strings that relate to multiplayer assets, as well as references to GameSpy. GameSpy is, for those unfamiliar, an older provider for online multiplayer and matchmaking middleware that was big in the late 90s and early 2000s. Here we see that at one point they were going to handle a lot of the logistics for the online mode of the game. But before you try and set this up and get it going, well, it won't work. The evidence is there, but not the actual mode. So they clearly put a lot of work into it. But why did they pull the plug? There's a few factors. They were in uncharted territory. Yes, they made multiplayer work for GTA 1 and 2, but I say work in the loosest of terms. It was far from special, yet it was also a far shot away from imagining this on PlayStation 2. Online games were proving popular, and the first MMOs were amassing large audiences, but none of these were on consoles. So they weren't sure if it would even work. The cost and resources to find out would pull away from the main game's development, as well as other projects as well. Rockstar had a clear ethos that they wanted to follow. If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. They didn't think their multiplayer mode would stand anywhere close to the quality of the main game. It wasn't worth doing it half-assed, so they dropped it. Instead, they turned their attention onto something that was worth their time, the game's sequel, Vice City. Over the next few years, Rockstar tinkered with and included some multiplayer features into their subsequent games. San Andreas included a bare-bones, though chaotic co-op mode. Liberty City and Vice City stories feature a buffet of different multiplayer modes, reminiscent of what was planned for GTA 3. The big evolution came for GTA 4, which saw more agency to players, more goals, more activities, and just a better all-round experience. But all these were building to something, All the way back when they were tinkering with Crime City Online and GTA 3, they had a goal. They wanted to make something that was just bigger and better, a multiplayer that stood up to the single-player experience, not just a carousel of modes, but a living, breathing world. And with GTA 5, those ambitions were finally realised. It rose to the same level of quality, and a decade on, dare I say, even surpassed its single-player counterpart. Since GTA 1 by DMA Designs, the franchise has existed as a series of mainline single-player games. But here we are, and the definitive GTA experience right now is a multiplayer online mode. Maybe it's better Crime World never saw the light of day. If it had been a failure, the developers may have shied away from trying multiplayer again. Instead, they kept getting close and pulling away, knowing that when they were going to do it, they were going to stick the landing and do something unheard of.